Hey, buddy.
Strombo.
Nice to see you, man.
Come on.
How are you?
Come on. I'm sitting with you. Are you kidding me? Pinch me.
I feel the same with you.
I mean, come on.
I mean, how many guys come off a show like yours and then do in the last X amount of years all the things you've done, including a sitcom? That's pretty wild.
Kevin, without a trace. Yeah. No, it's been wild. It's been a wild ride. And I must say that your interview with me those many, many years ago, and the research that you had done on this craggy face and this beautiful Canadian heart, people still talk about it.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
That was a beautiful. Remember, we had the same shirt, the same pants. We didn't even call each other the night before.
That's right.
We were like, you were my little brother, and so way to go, man.
Thank you,
and
man.
I've seen you a lot since then, but I just want to let you know on air how amazing that interview was.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I'm a huge fan of yours, but as a person too. I like your choices. I'm a huge fan of accountability and choices, and artists should make them, and you do. And I think that's really cool, and you don't stop. Robert Plant was in here, and he said, you can't lose your mojo, because once you lose your mojo, you never get it back. And you've never, it appears, lost it.
Thanks.
Bad Blood.
Yeah.
We know a lot of these guys. Like these are real people, and this is quite a story. How familiar were you with it?
It's tricky. It's a tricky one because you, being such a Canadian legend for decades now, knowing the history of Vito Rizzuto like you do, I was in New York for a lot of that time. I left Saskatoon early in the early 80s. But I always would read about certain things, and the little that I did know about Vito, it was always in the Montreal folklore of, is it true? Is it really happening? Who's he with? Who's he not with? And then when he died in 2013, and Peter and Antonio wrote that incredible book, Business or Blood, Mark Montefiore, your good pal, Jose Valle, Natalie Rodriguez at Rogers, they bought the rights. And Michael Conovis and Simon Barry wrote the first 2 episodes. And in those first 2 episodes of the first season, there was this fictional character, Declan Gardner. And they came to me first. They wanted to cast Declan first. It was a co-starring part with Vito and Declan. And they wanted me first. And that said so many things to me, as in their trust in me and my talent, my career, whatever that is. So the reading I got to do, and reading that book, I read it in like, a day and a half. And getting backstory about everything, we had to cast Vito. That was a tough deal. Anthony LaPaglia, good buddy of mine, Paul Sorvino, Enrico Calantoni, Tony Napo, who you know, Maxim Wah. The cast was amazing. And here we are telling this story that we have to be very careful in how we tell it. All our lawyers knew what they were doing. All the book was all truth based on facts. And now, with any great story, turning this into a miniseries, you need a fictional element to bring. You can't just tell the truth. That's just on court proceedings and things like that. So we needed some fictional areas, and that's where Declan came in. And the love that he had for Vito was paramount in that first season. And then the way it ended was so sad on so many levels. But could there be a second season? Oh my, if not, that was a great ending. Oh my God, what does it mean? Remember in The Sopranos, when the late Jimmy, there's this just quick cut, weird. Was that a bullet? Was that? And his head turned, and then it went to black, and we all went, wait. Is that a joke? Wait, did we just lose our feed? Yeah. Is did HBO lose their feed? No, that's what he wanted you to think about that and talk about that. So that's what people did with Bad Blood first season. It was a really locker or like a water cooler moment of talking about what did that mean? Was he shot at? Is he dead? Is he alive? Cut to, we just finished our second season.
Which is amazing. Louis Ferrer is a part of this now, who's an old neighborhood boy of mine, and a little bit before my time.
You and Louis together? Seriously?
Louis, Rico, and I all grew up like 10 streets north of each other and south of each other in Jane and Wilson area. Different eras, but we overlapped a little bit.
Great.
Louis is wild. Melanie Scrofano. So the thing...
You know everybody in the show. You know that.
I know a few. But what I like about it is I like shows, and somebody who has to talk about this culture and wants to talk about this culture, I want to see something that pushes this country artistically to another place and gives a lot of actors a place to go, like The Wire did. Give me a lot of places where great roles can happen, so you don't have to play, waiter number 2. Right? I want actors with names, and it's cool to watch this happen on Bad Blood.
Strombo, what a great thing to say, because you and I are two of the lucky ones of all the hard work we've put into this business, and you with your hockey and your writing and your music and your journalism speaks for itself. Me, now getting these incredible starring parts for all the long years of playing, I was never waiter number 2, but I certainly had big, beautiful movies where I had one scene, or 2 scenes, Last Boy Scout, Waterworld, but that still popped because of the stuff that you and I put into these things. So, Bad Blood 2, you realize I'm the biggest name. There's no more Anthony LaPaglia or Paul Savino. It's me. Yeah. And all these incredible Melanie and Louie and Daniel Cash and Ryan McDonald and Dylan and Anna Hopkins. It's all us now. And as Canadians, to tell this kind of a story and the kind of work that Michael Conovis wrote in these 8 episodes this year for this Italian family and my family, Sharon Taylor, who plays this First Nations incredible part that Declan gets to know. She's a cigarette smuggler, and then she ends up working for me. And our relationship is spectacularly confusing and gorgeous and sad. It's all about the writing, and these Canadians are hitting it right out of the park. I've seen all 8 episodes, and I can't wait to share.
Louis was a part of a really cool show called Durham County, which started the conversation about a darker Canadian series, and now Bad Blood's got that. Right, this idea that we don't have to be overly censored, overly concerned, because now we play for an international market. That's what must be exciting about this, that people who would have watched Tig now get to see you star whenever this goes on whatever the big OTT players are going to be. That's exciting, isn't it?
It's so exciting, and it is exactly that. Even like the CBC, to me, I've seen some commercials because I've been here a lot this last 7 months in Canada, our beautiful country. Have you seen the new CBC commercials? Yeah. They're more rocky. Yeah. They're like rock starry. I mean, not rocky, like Rocky Good. Like they're out there. They're a little bit more edgy. I think that's so exciting. I love what they're trying to do there. And FX Canada, I mean, that's, and City TV with this, and Rogers, we're our only big, massive drama on that heavily sports, beautiful network that is. So it's all about the stories. And this season looks so different from the first season. Both amazing in their own right, but the cameras are better. We have a 2-camera setup now on every scene, George.
Great
so
coverage.
Now, like you and I are talking right now, and if I want to take a sip of water on the one camera setup, it would go, okay, so Kim, you drank water when George said, now with 2 cameras, one on me, one on you. There's no more continuity. Right. Brando would have loved this way of shooting. He always hated continuity. He didn't even know what that word was.
That's right.
What continuity was?
That's a good Brando. I just watched The Wild Ones again this summer. Hadn't seen it in a long time. And you realize that almost all the shit that we think is cool today is from that movie.
That's the truth.
It's so crazy how bang on that film was.
It was crazy. Yeah.
It's
Philip
wild.
Stern, I've got one of his photos of the wild. Yeah, in my office.
I think another big part of this is that we have such great Canadian talent that works around the world, that when people like you come home and work, and this is not the first time you've been home and worked a lot. You've been shot in after Sons. I think you shot in Saskatchewan, didn't you?
I did.
Is that the Kid show?
I did the Adventure Club, Ferocious, and Rufus. 3 Saskatchewan movies.
Which is so you guys have to come home. That's what's important.
Yeah.
To help make these things happen. Never mind just waiter number 2 or whatever. I don't know how many were able to be on CSI New York, and CSI Miami.
I did all 3.
You did all 3, man.
How crazy is that?
I just wish that CSI Cyber lasted a couple more so you could have got on that. That would have been amazing.
David Caruso, man, he, no matter what you think of him, for people who don't know him, he wanted me on his show. Yeah. He insisted that I get on his show.
You did like 6 episodes on that show.
I did 5 or 6, yeah. And the problem was I said yes because he wanted me so bad, and I really kind of wanted to do the show and meet him anyway. That Sons, I got cast in Sons 2 months after I did the first one. So I was already contractually obligated to do another one. So then I did the first 2, and then because of Sons, they had to wait until Sons was over to do the next 3 while I was in an off season. But Caruso, man, he goes like this. He goes, I can't really walk down the street. I want like your career in a way. Kimmy, I want your career. And I went, well, I can walk down the street and I want your money.
Exactly.
So, we literally had the biggest laugh in his Winnebago over that. Give me a little money, I'll give you a little of my career. How about?
Yeah, that's a good deal for you. Take that money.
Good trade-off.
The idea that you've been able to do so many different, and you're right, actually, if you do scroll through your filmography, big scenes in movies, lots of episodes, like lots of shows. And at any point, did you sit and think, I'm going to be a day player for the rest of my career?
That's a great question. I'm not sure about that per se, but there was a time when the towers came down and none of us were working, the world had changed. It was a crazy time, certainly in America then. And I remember thinking this might be the time where I actually might have to do a show to support my family that I don't want to do.
Right.
I'd never been put in a position where Kim Coates did something that he didn't want to do. All my good movies, all movies that didn't work, even the arcs on certain TV shows, I did because I wanted to do them, and I wasn't afraid to be a taxi driver again if I had to.
Right.
But what I never wanted to do was play Cyclone number 4 on a Saskatoon-based, and I love Saskatoon, that's why I'm saying this, and I'm making a joke, but it's shot in Regina, and it's for the money, and it's not very good writing. That was my fear, to support my family.
Which is what a lot of artists have to face, that fear.
I think they do, yeah.
So what happened? How did that not happen?
I don't know. I just refuse. You know this about me, George, and I know this about you. I've never been afraid of it. I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not afraid to fail. I've never been afraid to fail. I've never not believed in my convictions of my good friends or not having one more friend, because I'm lucky enough to have so many that I have already. But I never doubted myself. Like, I never doubted myself. And I wasn't the smartest guy in the room. I wasn't like, I would sit down with some of these incredible filmmakers, and George, like you know everything about music. I know a little. I love it. But I could learn in 3 days from this man more about music than I'll ever need to know, and that excites me. So when I sat down with these big-ass directors who knew what cameras they were talking about, and sit with them and get close to being in their movies, I remember being really kind of shy about, I don't know the cinematographers that he's talking about, but I never stopped talking. So I kept learning, and they were sitting with me because they wanted to sit with me. Yeah. They saw me on Broadway, or they saw The Last Boy Scout, or they saw Waterworld, or The Client, and they wanted to work with me. So I always knew that there was a bit of give and take, even though if I might not know as much in the film world,
right.
I'm never going to stop being who I am and listen.
It's an artist. The thing that I think a lot about is the idea of inertia and fate. Do you believe in fate?
I do.
So this would have happened for you. You know, assuming you put the work in, but this was going to be your career. Like, if you didn't get Sons, you would have got something else.
I 1,000% agree.
Has it always been part of your chemistry, or do you have to teach yourself that?
I think I learned it as I got older.
Yeah.
I was too young and naive early. Oh, I'm going to America. I don't have an O1. I don't have H1, but some agents saw me at Stratford and youngest Macbeth ever. Please come down. So I did. Yeah. Took the train, had to show my passport. Hey, you're an actor. Yeah, sit over there. Waited for 2 hours to get past, got through.
Right.
And I just started getting cast on Broadway, and I did, Miami Vice with Don Johnson. Got my SAG card.
Yeah.
Ended up making $18 on that. By the time I played the lawyer, the Owen Visa, I made $18, and my dad said, "This is the best $18 you ever made."
But bro, it's to me, it's not the casting that was the thing. It was that you said, "I'm gonna do it anyway." Yeah. Like, you went, and the first leap is the thing that people need to believe in themselves on. Take the first step.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Never mind my voice. I saw one of the first things that I saw that was Canadian. I didn't even know was the Nick Cage one that you were in when he played the
rower.
Yeah, was it Boy in Blue?
Boy in Blue.
Boy in Blue, right? I remember seeing that as a kid, and there's this dramatic homecoming scene, and he got surprised by the homecoming, and I was emotional, and that was one of the first times I remember thinking, oh, I can feel something.
Yeah.
As a kid.
Oh, that's so crazy.
But you were in that.
That was my first film ever.
Your first film.
I had 12 lines, 10 of them were cut.
That's
yeah.
So the two must have been
good.
But
the two were kind of special.
That's amazing. When you worked with people, did you learn from other actors when you're out there?
All the time.
Even now as you get older?
All the time.
Yeah.
In fact, Nick Cage, my story about Nick back then when he was becoming a star.
Yeah.
He played the rower, and he was so physical, And he was in such amazing shape. Well, we had lunch together. I didn't sit with him. I was by him. And he just had a salad.
Yeah.
He just had a salad. My first big movie, Palais Royale, with Matt Craven, Dean Stockwell, Kim Cattrall.
Yeah.
Craft service tables and the lunches, I played this tough, fat, somewhat sexy gangster. So I ate, and I had to pull my pants up, and the belt barely fit. But I learned physicality from Nick in the movies, man. I mean, he didn't sway. There was no bread, no whatever his thing was. Cut. I learned from him.
Commitment.
Yeah.
Commitment.
Yeah.
So you get to play real life guys. Well, not your character, but your show real life guys. Have any of those guys showed up?
Great question. And I have to say, and you know how much I respect and love you, I can't answer that.
Oh, because then I know.
I can't answer that.
But that's my answer. That's all I need.
So I'm just not going to answer that. In fact, I'm going to say one more thing.
Yeah.
And I got asked this on Sons, right? Like Sonny Barger, right, who was on our show.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it was loosely based on the Hells Angels. If you read and found, and he, he's invited me to a few outings down in Arizona, and I've always politely just declined.
Yeah.
Because I perfectly understand from being on that show and hanging with certain elements of society, good and sometimes bad. I'm a father. I'm an actor. I'm an actor. I'm a producer, and I love whatever you want to do, and I appreciate but I never took him up on that. But
Yeah. Sonny Barger was the leader of the Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels, I guess the de facto of the worldwide Hells Angels. But if you ever see, you may have already seen it, to people listening, there is a film called Hells Angels 69 where Sonny's one of the leads in it. Yeah. And it is a wild movie.
He's a wild guy.
I can imagine.
He's talking.
Yeah, he's got that voice.
He's lost his love his esophagus and smoking over there.
When I watched that, and I watched some Roger Corman stuff, even though most of it was Peter Fonda, no less, before Easy Rider. It was,
I know, right?
Before Easy Rider, he was in that
Quaid and Nicholson and all.
It was incredible. Just this idea that film has got to be more than just, can it get me the first weekend at the box office? Because that film is a document of a time, but more importantly to me, Kim, and I don't know if you agree or not, but it's a document of a spirit that somebody can watch decades later and then be inspired to be creative on their own end. Because all these fucking people don't want to get involved in STEM. If you don't want to be in science, technology, engineering, or math, what are you going to do? And be happy. And I kind of feel like like Bad Blood shows like this, you have to push and make big statements to inspire somebody.
Well, not only is that true, but George, I'm talking about film versus TV in a way, if we may. I mean, thank goodness for film festivals around the world. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, 90% of these independent films, you're never going to see them.
Yep.
We are now, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I'm in big movies too, but Marvel and DC and all I can't keep up. I don't know I don't know anymore what's going on. I don't know what's happening.
And they're all the same movie now, right? They're all using a character which is fine, but lots of comedy, which is out of character. So it's just raw entertainment, which is fine, but they're all the same film now.
But we were just talking about, Barger and Nicholson and Peter Fonda. You go back to you were too young, son, but the decade of the 70s, for me, that was it.
But I watched so many of those films. They're powerful.
We can, from the Godfathers, the Deer Hunters, the Panic in Needle Park, we can go on, The Graduate, we can go on and on and on and on. They were just movies for the story. And then, it evolves. Everything evolves. I get it. But now we're up against a really scary time, in my opinion. That's why so many people want to do TV. Yeah. Because television is some of the best writing that you can do. And it's just still telling a story. And like Godless, that big Western I did for Netflix, that 7-part, 12 nominated Emmys. We won 3. I was there. First time I went to the Emmys.
Which is fun.
Had such a great night. It was so much fun. Jeff Daniels hanging with my buddy Eric Bana. Look at me throwing names around. What a loser. But what
Eric
the fuck?
Bana, amazing, by the way, as Chopper.
Wasn't that not just unbelievable? We're on Black Hawk Down, and 2 weeks into prep, doing our, Delta guys and the Rangers. And I was a Delta guy with Eric and Billy Fichtner and Johnny Strong and me. And anyway, Bana, I had never heard about Chopper or what it even was. He goes, "Can I show you a picture?" He goes, "Yeah." And he pulls out a photo of a guy who's 240 50 pounds. No teeth, silver tooth right there. I go, wow, that's amazing. Who's that? He goes, me.
Amazing.
And I went, what? It's me. And so, and it opened in New York while we were still shooting. He couldn't even make it to the premiere. He took off. He just exploded. I'm so glad you saw that movie.
I loved it. I loved it. But so this idea that TV, you can do all these episodes, I wonder though, for you as a performer, there's something really interesting about being able to accomplish all the things you can do in 10 episodes, but do it in 85 minutes. Like the constraints, it means the success in cinema to me are even greater if you can make it work in less than two.
Such a great point. Godless, from one example. Scott Frank, who wrote it, he had this 2.5-hour movie for 10 years, 8 years. And he kept giving it to all these people. And they went, it's good, but it needs a little work here, a little bit. And finally just went, fuck it. I'm going to turn this into a miniseries. And Netflix bought it right away. He just expounded and expanded on all the ideas rather than cut it down, because it is tough to get that 2 hours and 15 in at times, especially from a book, and to make it riveting and watchable. We still have the Oscars for those kinds of movies, and so they're still going to be made, which is great. But yeah, it's all about the writing.
Before I ask you for some songs, will you talk about your passion project film that you're taking around?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, it's called Cold Brook.
Yeah.
Billy Fichtner, Black Hawk Down. For the past 10, 12 years, he and his good buddy Kane DeVore wrote this story that he wanted to write for he and I to star in. And they did it. And we've been trying to produce it seriously for maybe 4 years. Yeah. And finally, a couple of years ago, through my Canadian connections, Sarah Shack and Shane Pultzlocker, we raised $1.5 million and went down to Buffalo, Billy's home area where he always wanted to film it. And we got a lot of love from Buffalo and Cortland. It's a story about two guys who work as janitors in a college. And they have families and they smoke pot and they don't swear. And they're just like regular guys. Yeah. And something happens very early in this film that changes everything for them. It's about friendship. It's about doing the right thing.
I need to see that.
It's going to be unbelievable. We're doing all the festivals coming up.
Do you like, as a producer, I suppose the obvious answer is whatever's easier, but do you like the fact that you can come off a successful series and like a 7-year series and keep doing more stuff in that vein, but finding a way to make a film and trying to raise $1 million?
Yeah.
Which guys who got that money in their sleep, but it still worked. Do you like that experience?
I do now. Yeah. I mean, it was an incredible hard row to hoe, but we did it. And with all these producers, mostly Canadian, some American, together, Billy directing it, his directorial debut, that can scare certain people, right? Never directed anything before. But
I had to make my own series to get a directing job because I'd never done it before.
Good for you. Congrats on that, by the way, son.
Thank you. But also, I've directed plays, but never.
Yeah.
So no one believes in you no matter what you've done.
Yeah.
Which actually I'm okay with because no one owes us shit anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So you made this project happen with your friends.
Well, they're my friends now. We didn't know them at the time, these money people. And it's like you said, there's lots of people with lots of money, but you know what, George? It's still like $100,000. Do you want to lose $100,000? Do you want to make it back? Do you want to make some money on that? Or do you want to come along, because $100,000 you can just spit out if you want. Yeah. But to read the script, Billy and Kim cast 4 other incredible actors in it, 4 of the leads. It's a story that's, there's no car crashes, there's no tits and ass. So that's kind of a weird, beautiful thing on its own. But it's all done now, and all the investors have seen it, and we've shown it to a few people, and it's so cool. I just can't wait for people to see it.
I'm glad you mentioned the tits and ass thing. One of the things that really stuck out with me, but my team on the old talk show when I interviewed you, and we've talked about this before, but like off camera.
Yeah.
When you said you just really weren't interested in playing a rapist on camera.
Yeah.
A lot of this is way before the Me Too movement. A lot of our producers in our show went, now that's a quote. Like that's a thing to say, to feel, to believe.
It doesn't interest me. Yeah.
It's not your thing.
No.
You got family, man.
It's not even that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think if I even had family, it doesn't interest me. You've got to have the most incredible character for me to do something with pedophilia or something with rape or something. This has to be an Oscar-nominated kind of Anthony Hopkins, Silence of the Lambs, weird, twisted.
Right.
Then I'll have to think about what that might come from me.
Because you have to go inside.
Yeah. I don't have any interest in that at all.
And is it also partly just responsible storytelling? That it's not easy storytelling. If you take out the obvious fears and tropes of Hollywood or storytelling, to not require gratuitous sexuality.
I think that's partly true, Georgie, but I got to tell you, there was a Tim Roth movie based on a play or a book 15 years ago, which dealt with some of these things we're talking about. And it was so hard to watch. They did it so beautifully. And the character, I can't remember, he's an English actor who played the lead, awful human being.
Yeah.
But the writing or the story that it was going to get out to the people who watched it as to what can happen behind closed doors was so beautifully done by Tim Roth. It was so gorgeously captured. No one could walk away from that film not feeling, holy crap, what did I just see? So on that level of writing and storytelling, there may be something there. But right. I know that actor who played that part must have had some sleepless nights, portraying that kind of a guy.
I can imagine. When you make films now as a producer, the idea of making sure your cast and your crew are representative, making sure that you are part of the solution of inclusion. How do you do that?
That's a great question, man. I think to guys like us, really, and I'm not going to talk about anything that's, thank goodness, it's come to the forefront now. And I'm such a passionate woman supporter in the business and in life. They're the better species, if you ask me. I have 2 daughters and a wife who's, she's still with me. It's a miracle. She's just the smartest chick in the world, or the dumbest, I'm not sure. But, I think it's about time. But the pain that we're now reading about and feeling and inclusion, I guess this is where we're supposed to be. And so for us on that movie that we shot last year in Buffalo, we made sure it was as close to 50-50 or even 60-40 tilting the scales to make sure that sound technician, female or male, you want to give it to the best person, but let's not include because you're a pal and he's a pal and he's a pal. And Billy Fichtner was so cognizant of equal stuff. I was really proud of him, and it made for a better movie, frankly.
So great to see you, man.
Yeah, you too, George.
Thanks for coming in.
Honestly, me too, man. I love you. I miss you.
You too. We'll hang out soon. And you were in a film with my good friend Claude Duhamel, Stagecoach. And I loved seeing you in that film because you were just doing, I don't know, he told me, yeah, Kim's in this movie. Like, how are you in a Kim Coates movie? Like, what happened? He's like, Kim likes the project. And he got involved.
I got to tell you, I mean, I got paid way too much money to be on a 2-day shoot for me. We shot the whole film in like 10 days. I don't know how we did it in Vancouver. Claude came right up to me. First moment and he goes, yeah, we got mutual friends. Who's that? George Strombo. I went, dude, do you know? Yeah, I just spent last week with him.
He said you were serious too. You're like, don't say that.
Don't say that, because everyone said, do you? I did. You said, and he goes, yeah. So we bonded immediately. And then when he played this guy, and then the guy he played this cowboy, he was so good, but you couldn't understand a word.
Yeah, you still can't.
So I would pull him aside and I go, dude, you're fucking brilliant, but slow it down just a little bit. Just so we can understand what you're saying, because it's gold. And he was so good.
He said that you really, and guys I know who've worked with you and women I know who've worked with you say that you understand the project's not going to be good unless everyone
has to be good. Yeah,
and
thank
you help them
and I'm
get
glad
there.
That's out there, because it's the truth, man. I will never direct anyone. That's not part of, but I'm watching and listening the whole time. And the better you are, the better I'm going to be. It's the truth. The best people know that, and they're not afraid of that, for sure.
My man, good to see you.
You too, George.
See you soon.